friends. Brenda from Love's Inner Voice. So glad to be with you today. Sandy Priester is our guest today, and I'll tell you a little bit more about her later. Let's start with our heart breathing because you know I love to do that, and it grounds me and it hopefully will assist you to be more open to our presentation today. So let's take a loving, deep breath of light and love in. And as you breathe out anything that you're ready to let go of right now. Let's do that 3 or 4 times. Just breathe in light and love. And breathe out into that light anything you're ready to let go of right now. Thank you for joining us today. What a blessing. And thank you for being here, Sandy. So let me tell you a little bit about Sandy. She has lots of education. She can talk about that later if she wants to, but she's a trailblazer in integrative medicine, directing, dedicating over 20 years, and a director, executive director of LifeSpark Cancer Resources, which is a nonprofit organization to treat cancer patients with holistic healing. And she's the co-founder. And in the last year, there's been 3,000 sessions with 600 cancer patients from volunteers, LifeSpark volunteers. What a wonderful, wonderful gift Sandy and her team is giving to the world. So, Sandy, will you please share with us about how you got organized in this and how it's evolved over the last 2 decades using Reiki and healing touch therapies?
Well, first of all, thank you, Brenda. I'm so happy to be joining you here. I feel like we have so much that we have in common to share about our own personal journeys, but also how we look at the world. And so for me, I mean, it started way back like 35 years ago when I first learned Reiki. And, it helped me I learned how to give myself energy work and energy healing. And it was so profound. It just had such a profound impact on my personal healing. I had some deep emotional things that I needed to heal, and it was just profoundly helpful, but also profoundly gentle and supportive. Just always there and always present and always helpful. And so that's really where my journey started, because through that all, I wanted to find a way to make this available to other people, anyone who needs it or wants it, to make it widely available. And so LifeSpark actually started 20 years ago. And
Hard to believe, huh?
I mean, I was working out of another nonprofit that was offering wellness services for cancer patients, and one thing led to another, and we founded LifeSpark. And interestingly, we founded the program, and then interestingly, that organization ended up closing. And so here we were with this program. What do we do with it? It's like, well, do we either close it or do we start our? We ended up starting our own nonprofit, and that's where it all started. 20 years ago, and it's been quite the journey. So we offer Reiki and Healing Touch at no cost to cancer patients. We've been doing that for 20 years. We also provide that service for caregivers. And along the path, well, 15 years ago, COVID happened. I mean, before that, all of our sessions were in-person, hands-on sessions. Because if those of you may or may not know what Reiki and Healing Touch are, but they're traditionally used in a hands-on process. Where it's gentle, hands-on, light touch, moving down the body or moving up the body, depending on the modality. And then, and so that's how the healing occurs. A person is fully clothed and they receive these sessions. But many of us, most of us who practice these therapies, also know that they're totally available remotely. I mean, I've been doing remote energy healing sessions for over 35 years. So I know that they're powerful and effective. And so COVID happens, 2020, and it's like, oh darn, we can't do in-person sessions anymore because we've been operating up and down the Front Range at a number of different locations. And so we switched. It's like, okay, what are we going to do? We switched to remote sessions. People people didn't have any other choice at that option at that choice. They could either go to remote sessions or not receive anything. And so lots of people tried them, and lots of people found out that they were really super helpful, and they
Yes,
really
they are.
over a distance. And so
Mhm.
because of that, we now have both in-person sessions in Colorado, and we have remote sessions across the country. This program is now available to anybody anywhere in the United States. So that's
It's really beautiful. And yes, you are in the Front Range area of Colorado. And so that's where you do your hands-on. Um, I know that you spoke in to us when we were sharing about research that has started up around validating the incredible gift that this kind of healing has for people on multiple levels: psychological, emotional, spiritual, and physical. So, if you could share about that and next steps, that would be great.
Yeah, so first of all, there are about 100 published studies on Reiki and Healing Touch. Some in Healing Touch, some in Reiki. These are published studies. There's a lot more that are not published, but those are the ones that experts tend to look at. Is it published?
Right,
And they tend to, in general, they generally indicate that both of these modalities, the modalities are quite similar. They're distinct and different, but their results are very similar. They help with
right.
stress, they
Mhm.
help with depression, they help with pain. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a minute. They help a person feel. They help a person sleep better. They can help with nausea if you're going through chemo. And they just give a person a sense of peace and well-being that you really can't get from just a lot of other things.
Yeah,
So they're just and they work with the whole system, the whole person. Um, so they're really bringing the person back into sort of a place of balance, rest, relaxation, that place where the body is in its best and most promising place for self healing. We always talk about these therapies being a method of self healing because they
yeah.
just let the body come back. It's like, oh, all right, I can breathe again, and then the body can
Yes.
heal.
Hmm.
And so that's what the research has been. And of course, we've done some things. We've done a couple of informal survey studies. That means they're not published. One of them was back in 2012, where we did a before and after survey of people receiving our sessions, and people had statistically significant improvements in things like stress, pain, depression, things like that, a sense of well-being, a better connection with spirituality, those kinds of things. Back in 2017, we did a study with the UC Health Anschutz Cancer Center because we do work out of a number of hospitals, and they actually designed the study. Again, informal, it's not published, but still the results are pretty illuminating. So it was again testing, okay, a self survey. How do you feel before the session, and how do you feel immediately after the session? And in that survey, there were 35 people that participated, and people reported that their stress and anxiety had dropped by about two-thirds on average, which is pretty remarkable.
Wow,
And
that's really beautiful.
yeah, and their pain had dropped by about a third, which again, this is without pain meds or stress medications. These are without drugs. These are just things that these therapies can help a person experience better. So those are the informal studies. Then we did a formal study back in 2021. Again, this was with the Anschutz Cancer Center, UC Health's Anschutz Cancer Center, and this was for nurses because, oh my gosh, I mean,
Yay, nurses.
I just love nurses. They're just like I think they're the unsung heroes of the world because they're the ones that take care of the patients and they've been under so much stress. And this study, I mean, we started this, we planned this before the pandemic, and before the pandemic, they were telling me how many nurses were burning out and leaving the profession. And of course, since the pandemic, it's only gotten worse. But the idea was that we trained nurses in Reiki as a self care tool. So nurses could give themselves Reiki. I give myself Reiki all the time. You can give yourself Reiki. Um, and
Yes.
then and then study to see if it improves their resilience because resilience, of course, is something that they're very interested in the medical community because that means you're able to cope and handle the stressors of
Right.
and
Yeah, yeah.
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 And so this study was actually an IRB approved study, and it's about ready to be published. But it showed a statistically significant improvement in resilience for those nurses that learned Reiki and then began practicing self Reiki practice. Again, it was a small study. There were 15 people, 15 nurses, but it's a pilot, and we are very hopeful, well, more than hopeful, we are planning, working on developing a much larger study so that we can have a bigger group and so that it can have more a relevance across various hospitals. A similar study for nurses with Reiki and self care.
That's really beautiful because being a retired nurse, that would have meant a lot to me 15, 20, 30 years ago when I was in the dredges. Um, it also makes me wonder if that would be appropriate classes in nursing school.
Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be amazing if that?
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yes, yes, that would be incredible.
Because if the nurse or any caregiver
Yes,
is calm, knows how to de-stress themselves when they're feeling a little, at work, they can do some breathing, they can do some touch. I mean, that would be incredible. And it's also beneficial to the patients
yes, yes, yes,
because the environment is just so much calmer and more relaxed. And wouldn't it be great for medical school?
yes. Wouldn't it be great? Yes. Well, and also, I mean, think of other professions like teachers. Think of
Right.
teachers and the stress.
Teachers would be great.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
really amazing. I mean, there's so many places that would benefit. But
Yes.
and you're right. And the more nurses that come in calm, the calmer the whole atmosphere is. One of my
Yes.
one of my favorite quotes from one of our nurses that went through our program, uh, well, learned Reiki and was actually supported us in our study that we did. Said that that when she observes, because we have volunteers that go into the Anschutz Cancer Center and give sessions to the patients while they receive chemo. And of course, she loves the program. The nurses love the program because the patients are more relaxed.
Right.
But one of the things that she told us was she said, a relaxed patient is a relaxed nurse.
And that's so true. And a relaxed family is a relaxed nurse, and a relaxed patient is a relaxed family.
Yes, yes, yes. It just
You
helps
know,
helps it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it helps everybody. Yeah, it does. Thank you for sharing that. And accessibility is one of your missions, and you making it even more accessible now that you've gone remote. And you're in the process of expanding that remote program, correct?
yes,
What
yes.
is that going to look like?
Well, so I mean, so first of all, one of the barriers for lots of people is, if it's in an in-person location, you've got the location that only gives us like maybe a day and a half a week, so certain hours and days, and then
Oh, yeah,
you have
yeah,
a volunteer provider who offers these therapies, but they're only available maybe one day a week, and then the crazy schedule that the patient has with all their medical treatments and everything else. And so it ends up being complicated. Scheduling can be very complicated. And so remote sessions take away that barrier because we can serve people wherever they are. We can, you can just stay at home, get up, get on your cell phone, call us. We do this over Zoom so that the person with cancer and the volunteer can see each other, talk to each other, and make a connection. And then we ask that person to go lie down, and we play guided imagery, which is great. So many of you probably know what guided imagery is, but I mean, Brenda did a very simple guided imagery just with the deep breaths. Just take a
Hmm.
few slow deep breaths, and we have guided imagery that we play during the remote session just to give people something to focus on and to help them to relax even more. And so that's how a remote session works. But it's great because we can serve anybody no matter where they live, whether they're homebound or not. If they have crazy schedules, we have providers that can work around that. So it makes our sessions very accessible, as you mentioned, accessible to pretty much anybody with cancer anywhere in the U.S. And
Mm,
um,
that's really beautiful. Share some stories that you've gotten and that your patients have shared with you because they were fun when we talked about them before. And I think people might like to hear how patients and families are responding to this kind of therapy where there's no medication, there's nothing foreign going into the body. They're still getting chemo and that kind of stuff, right? But this is added to. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
this is not a replacement for cancer
Right.
treatment.
Right.
It's just
Right.
it's a way of helping them to be with the cancer treatment. I mean, we always think that medicine saves lives, but energy therapies help people live through
Yes.
what the medicine requires, and we're not here to replace medical care. We're here to help people feel strong enough to walk through it, to be there and to be present and to get the full benefit while also having some quality of life along the way. So,
That's
um,
yeah.
so yeah,
Because when the body's relaxed, it can accept the medication better and easier, and you may not need to be as strong or as often if the
yeah,
body's really relaxed. And I know there's still research going on about that too in other arenas, because they're always doing research on cancer care,
yes,
medical care.
yeah.
But
There's a lot of research on relaxation and how much it helps the body self heal faster. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
story. So
Stories.
Yeah, so I mean, one of my favorite is actually a really recent one. Amanda is a person who was just physically and emotionally exhausted. Cancer, she felt like cancer had taken so much away from her energy, her sleep, her sense of control. And she told us that she would come to our sessions stressed and angry. But after each session, whether the session was remote or in person, she said, "I come stressed and angry, and I leave in peace."
That's really beautiful.
And I think about that a lot because I think about how difficult it is to go through these therapies, cancer therapies, and I mean, you need to do it. You've got to do it. But what if it wasn't quite as traumatic? And what
You're right.
just easier? And for her, she found that the peace stayed with her for several days. It wasn't just a short-term thing. I mean, it really stayed with her for a while. And of course, she receives regular weekly sessions. But that's pretty typical. I mean, we get a lot of comments from people that go through our sessions. I mean, Rita, for example, said, "I sleep better for days after a session." I mean, sleep. Oh my,
Mm,
how important is that? Liz says, "My anxiety melts away." And Sarah, "For the first time in months, I felt like myself again." And
wow.
and then of course Russell said, "It helped my sense of well-being and reduced physical pain." So I mean, those are very typical, very common comments that we get from people going through our program.
That's really beautiful. And I know that you are a nonprofit, and I know that you are in the process of looking for donors for expanding the program and all of that. Can you speak more to that and let people know how they can find out more about it,
Yes, so
participating or donating?
one of our really super big goals for 2026 is to really expand our remote program. We're in the process of rolling out new software that will help make the online matching faster and easier. Um, and so again, people anywhere in the United States can sign up, and you can be matched with for 8 weeks of sessions. They're remote sessions, so you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to get dressed, or I mean, you can get dressed if you want,
Yeah.
but
You
you're
be in your jammies, it's fine.
your schedule, your time. Anyway, so people may have friends, family that are in need of this. It'll be a process. It's kind of a slow rollout. I mean, initially, there'll probably be a few little hiccups as we figure out all the software and everything. But it's this is what we're rolling out, and this is where we're going in 2026. So really excited to talk to people across the country about that. And of course, these things cost money. The technology, the staff to run them, the staff to manage everything, all of the different. It's kind of surprising how many different pieces of software and different pieces of this it takes to run a program like this. So there are real costs to making this happen. So we're always looking for donors. People can go to our website, which is lifesparknow.org.
Yep.
LifeSpark.org. There are a couple of LifeSparks out there, but we're the one that does Reiki and Healing Touch for cancer patients. Nobody else does that. And we are also looking for people that might want to volunteer as a provider. If you know Reiki or Healing Touch, we have a whole process for becoming a provider. Or maybe someone out there is interested in helping us with social media. We're always looking for assistance in sort of some of the marketing pieces of getting the word out, because this is going to be a big job to get the word out. So maybe some of you have expertise in that area that you'd like to help us. But and let me also say, another way that anyone can participate if you're interested, prayers and intention. I mean,
Oh my.
I mean,
Yeah.
I send my prayers every day to the people in LifeSpark, and you can too if you want to, or you can send it to people you probably already are, but that's another way to support us. So,
That's beautiful. So the website lifesparknow.org.
yes,
So really want it to be in the now
yes.
for anyone that would like to participate. Do you have any final closing comments you'd like to make for our audience before we say goodbye?
Well, I just want to say that I just feel that everyone deserves healing and everyone deserves support when they're going through cancer care. I mean, I think that healing is something we awaken within people. I feel like our work just opens the door to make it possible. So, um, just encouraging everyone to think about how do you bring healing into your lives, and what is it that helps you to be more whole and complete.
That's beautiful. And that's what Love's Inner Voice is all about. And that's why we have beautiful people like Sandy Priester on our show so that you can learn about what other people are doing in the world and how you can support them. So thank you all for being with us. Let's take a few deep breaths before we say goodbye. And thanks, Sandy, for being here. And if any of you feel like you want to learn more, go to lifesparknow.org. Blessings to each and every one of you. Bye for now.